like to draw back to things that I grew up on. I had a friend who was trying one of my desserts. She said, wow, your heritage comes out a lot in these dishes. And now that I notice it, I focus on those more and try to bring those flavors out even more. My son Justin started working with me. He's way further along than I was at his age. He pushes me to be better. My name is David Rodriguez, and I am owner and chef of Búho Bakery. Today we're going to be making Chocolate Swirl, which is our version of a cardamom swirl. We're trying to base the recipe off of Mexican hot chocolate. I like to add the liquid in first, just because it makes a little bit of a barrier. Adding our yeast in, have our egg, our TCHO cocoa powder, brown sugar, salt, flour, and then last our butter. And then with the hook, I'm just gonna mix this for about 3 to 4 minutes till it all comes together. So the dough's done. It looks good. It's gonna be nice and smooth. It's not gonna be tacky or sticky at all. Just let this sit like 20, 30 minutes until it's proofed. 15 minutes into it, we'll push it out into the tray and it'll be ready to roll. We're gonna add the butter. You want it low, medium heat because you wanna melt the butter, you don't wanna brown the butter. I'm gonna add this 81% first. And you can see the chocolate starting to dissolve. Just keep stirring it. Don't need to be too aggressive. And it's not like a ganache where you need to find an emulsion, just melting everything together. Make it as close as possible to when you're gonna roll out your dough. Because of the high amount of butter and cocoa butter and cocoa paste, it'll set up and it'll get pretty firm and it'll be really difficult to spread out on your dough. So I got that brown sugar going now. It's gonna be a little gritty still because there's not enough moisture in the recipe to melt the sugar, which is kind of what we are going for. We want it to have that nice, almost crystallized texture to it. Just breaking up the chunks of sugar. Then you can add cinnamon. I like to add the TCHO cocoa powder last. Adding it last, it just breaks up easier. You don't have to sift it. The TCHO cocoa powder has 22% fat, so that's another thing that's gonna make this really fluid, which will also make it set up. So I'm gonna pour this out. And it smells really nice. You can smell the Mexican cinnamon, you can smell the dark chocolate, and you can see actually on the spatula that it's still nice and gritty. But I like using TCHO for this recipe, the 81% in particular for this one. My desserts aren't very sweet, and I think that's one thing that people have noticed about my desserts, which is they're very balanced. When you start off with TCHO chocolate, it's already very balanced, so you don't have to do much like cut out the sugars or mess with a good product. So just a little bit of flour on the top. So I'm gonna flip it over and it'll be our bottom. Starting off with a square shape helps somebody who is maybe not well versed in rolling out dough. It helps Justin a lot in those perfect rectangles that I like, and you won't get yelled at. This rolling pin, it works very well for this. It's nice and heavy. It was made by my son's grandfather. So it's one of a kind. When you're rolling, you always want to start from the middle and go out. One of the reasons why I like using the cold dough is the warm filling will warm the dough and it'll be difficult to work with. They will still taste delicious. They just might not look as clean. Our dough is rolled out to 15 by 20. It's just about a 1/4 of an inch thick, and we're gonna put this filling on there. It's easier if you kind of pour it out all over the dough rather than one spot and then trying to move it all around. I use this TCHO bowl scraper for probably more than it was intended for. I use it to fold mousses, for macaronage, for macaroon, for this filling, portioning dough. It's nice and even, and like I had said previously, cold dough, you can already see it starting to set up just a little bit, which is great when you're trying to do the twist later. It's not gonna ooze out. And then we have our TCHO 81% chocolate here chopped. It looks like a lot of chocolate, but it's not. Paddle that out and it's a beautiful filling. Here are our cocoa nibs, and I just sprinkle that around. It's gonna add a nice crunch and a little bitterness to the dough. So our dough has the filling in it. It's relaxed for about 10 minutes. I like to go about ½ an inch. There's a lot of stuff in here. You can see you have all the chocolate, the cocoa nibs, and the filling. It's really beautiful. Sometimes you can pull and stretch it. Because of the amount of filling, I'm just gonna press it down a little bit and then roll it. And I'll show you that right now. When you roll it out, start in the middle, then you gently roll, and then go down and then go up. You don't need to get too exaggerated with that, because when you start to twist it in, that's where it gets those nice little curves and definition. Just a little pressure. Then hand it over to Justin. You're gonna egg wash that. So these are ready. They look nice. The dough doesn't take that long to bake because we rolled it out so thin. We have a convection oven, so ours took around 12-13 minutes, but in a still oven, maybe 20 minutes. Just keep an eye on the dough. You don't want them to dry out. It's a little glaze. It's just powdered sugar, lemon juice, and water. And we glaze probably about 90% of our pastries with this as soon as it comes out of the oven. And what it does is the hot pastry will form a little crust with the powdered sugar and actually traps in the moisture. So it helps extend the shelf life. I'm David Rodriguez, chef of Búho Bakery in Nevada City, and this is our TCHO Chocolate Swirl with Mexican cinnamon.